Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. My name is Tom Brett, and I'm here to speak to you today with regards to the CEH, the Certified Ethical Hacker course and exam from EC Council. I'm here to do a presentation which will roughly last for about 20 minutes, and then we will take a question and answer session at the end. Initially, I suppose, a bit about myself. I don't really talk very much about myself normally, but I originally started out life in the Department of Defence, the Irish Army, moved into consultancy training as self-employed, working for a large number of organisations, both government and private sector, and then more recently moving into BSI, where I actually am still employed at the present time, started there in June of last year. My current role is the training portfolio manager and trainer. So I deliver a broad range of courses from, I suppose, management, compliance, governance, a lot of different areas. Qualifications and experience. Well, I suppose back in the early days, I started out in software development, going from there into networking and system sysadmin. I suppose anybody that worked in the 90s, early noughties in systems administration naturally evolved into security. So that was a progressive step that I made. Qualifications, I've a fair amount of qualifications. It usually causes some jokes. You can have a look at the LinkedIn profile if you want to have a look more, but qualifications from Microsoft, Cisco, ISC², CompTIA, ISACA, IAP, VMware, PCB, BCS, CSA, and obviously EC Council, where I would be a certified ethical hacker. I would hold the certified network defender, the incident handler, and the CISO certifications, and would be authorized to train on all of them. So what are we going to really talk about? Well, we've done the first part about me. You're here not to listen to myself, but more to have a look at the CEH. So we'll have a look at very briefly at the workforce challenges that are out there. And even yesterday, I was reading an article to do with Canada and workforce challenges. We'll then have a look at how CEH itself may help you. We'll have a look at the CEH then, I suppose, mythology, where it comes from and its content. After that, we will have a look at the exam to identify what are we putting ourselves in front of, what's at the end of the course, and then how we should prepare for the exam. We will then look at the type of CEH candidates, the ideal candidate, if there is one. Obviously, we get a lot of people from different backgrounds, and how it then helps in your career progression. So how the CEH itself may help you, may benefit you. After that, we will have a look at the job opportunities, the opportunities out there. There's a few slides with regards to different locations, different countries. But, you know, this will obviously depend on the area that you wish to get into yourself. And then we will actually take questions at the end. So, global cybersecurity skills shortages. I have some slides here, one from the CSO, saying cybersecurity skills shortage is getting worse. Another one from Forbes, cybersecurity talent gap is an industry crisis. I was watching actually yesterday, it was a webinar to do with Canada, and they were saying that in Canada alone, they had 1.5 million vacant positions that they could not fill in cybersecurity. 1.5 million in Canada alone. And they were looking at how they were going to bridge this gap with training and education in colleges, etc. Potential problem there is that training and education in colleges may take 2-3 years to fill that gap. So we've massively got a skills shortage. Some other stats here. In the 2018 to 2019, cyber skills topped the list of 53% of survey respondents reporting a problematic shortage of cybersecurity skills. So that's, you know, a blog coming from EC Council. There's a number of different articles referencing same. Even the World Economic Forum mentioned in January 2019 report that the United States has over 200,000 cybersecurity skills requiring job vacancies, and employers are facing a tough time to fill them. So I think all you have to do is look out the window, look at the internet, look at the amount of job postings, and it's going to exist for a long period of time. It's not something that's going to change overnight. So different countries, here we have a slide from Indeed showing the different types of countries and the level, I suppose, of job security postings that are out there. Not specifically going into, I suppose, the role of an ethical hacker or one of the other roles that a CH course may actually complement, but it gives you a broad section. And there's another one then with regards to the different vacancies based on different locations. So for a lot of the candidates I often see on these webinars, they are geographically dispersed. And the good aspect with regards to job vacancies at the moment, as we can see here, they are also geographically dispersed. So broad range of jobs being sought after in a number of different locations. I'm just noticing here on this one here, this is looking at 2016 Q3 from this slide. This has actually got worse. So you can take those percentages and increase them again. So how does the CH help and what it's all about? Well, I suppose a very famous, would you say author, would you say a person that is looking at, you know, military forces and behaviors, The Art of War. If you know the enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the results of 100 battles. And I suppose that to me is the premise behind ethical hacking. Ethical hacking is where an individual working for or on behalf of an organization goes through the relevant processes that a hacker would actually carry out, so that the organization can then get a good understanding of their posture and the landscape, so they can understand the threats and then be able to react accordingly. So if you know the way a hacker is going to work, that will allow you to better be prepared to defeat them or to defend yourself. So a very important statement and a very true to reality statement. So what is it all about? The CH course itself, it will immerse you into the hacker mindset so that you will be able to defend against future attacks. It is an ethical hacking course that puts you in the driver's seat of a hands-on environment with a systematic process. So really, most organizations that will deliver the CH course will use the iLabs from EC Council. And the benefit for the student, I know we do them anyway, is we actually provide the student with 6 months access to the actual labs. So this allows the student, the delegate, to immerse themselves in the actual lab environment, which will consist of servers and a number of different virtual machines, and actually hack the environment as if it was an environment that you were either looking at defending, so you could test it, or to look at how an attacker would actually compromise a system. Sorry there. So realistically, it's a playpen. It's not okay. It's a hacking playpen. So based on this, then you will be exposed to an entirely different way of looking at your organization's security. So really, if you're looking at a standard person in security, they're looking at vulnerability analysis. They're doing all of this, but do they really truly understand the reasoning behind it? Well, not until you actually put yourself in the mindset of an attacker, not until you actually start looking at using tools like Metasploit, like any ideas, that you can actually see how easy it is to exploit a system that has a vulnerability. And obviously, anybody else that's in security understands the need for vulnerability analysis, but it just sort of, it allows you to make better business cases. It allows you to be able to better understand the risk for when you're looking at a system and you say, well, okay, if we patch that system, we may have downtime, we may find that we will have problems with certain communications. Now you can better actually assess that risk because you understand it from both points of view. So the mythology for the CH is based around the hacking process itself. As they say themselves in most of their literature, to beat a hacker, you need to think like a hacker. So what are those 5 phases? Well, obviously, if you're looking at it from an attacker point of view, attackers may actually slightly obscure some of these. They may change the way in which they do it, but you'll generally find the 5 phases of ethical hacking is generally adhered to, if you can say that an attacker will adhere to it. But it's a good methodology. First of all, you have the reconnaissance. And the reconnaissance is really where the attacker or the ethical hacker will do all of the analysis of the organization to identify as much information they can without really physically touching anything. So we use the word OSINT a lot of the time for open source intelligence. If we look at reconnaissance, there's 2 general types, passive and active. Passive is when you don't interact with the target. This is definitely when you look at the likes of OSINT. And then it may involve going into more active. An active reconnaissance then is when there is some direct interaction. The identification of hosts, routers, network mapping, port scanning is performed. Think about the likes of fingerprinting, trying to find some information. This then leads into the scanning. So there can be a sort of a gray line between reconnaissance and scanning. Scanning is more in-depth active reconnaissance. So this is definitely more probing of details, looking to try and identify what systems are in place, looking to try and identify how long the system has been since it's been rebooted, all of these, because these will allow you to identify, even if a service pack has been installed, has it actually been rebooted? To identify the service packs, to fingerprint the systems, to identify the different systems, to let's put it, to formulate a network map of the enemy so that you will be able to identify where the different areas are, where the vulnerabilities exist, what is going to be your method of attack. After that, then the 3rd phase, gaining access. So in this case here, the vulnerabilities that have been identified are actually compromised. So I suppose I've mentioned earlier, when we can look at the likes of Metasploit or other applications, using them with different scripts, different exploits to compromise the vulnerabilities that have been found on the relevant systems. Is that okay? Depending on where the attacker compromises, that then may mean that they will then do some lateral movement into other machines, etc. So the gaining access will definitely happen as being the compromisation of vulnerabilities, which will then move into the maintaining access. And the maintaining access is where the attacker tries to retain their ownership. So this will be where they will actually implement backdoors, depending on what they're going to use. So may use Trojans, rootkits, different types of malware to allow them to have a new or another backdoor into the system. It would be very common for an attacker to actually close the way that they originally got in to try and protect the system from other attackers. There's no point if an attacker is one of many compromising a system, because there would be more of a potential for it to be found out. So the maintaining access phase is where the attacker then looks at ensuring that they have a way back in. At this stage, then, they will actually go and do about whatever they want to do. Could be to, I suppose, inflict pain on the organization by installing ransomware or God knows what. But in a lot of cases now, which we see a lot, is where they will exfiltrate data. So download data for maybe further compromise. It could be to give them more information about the organization. It could be to release that information out into the wild. It could be to blackmail the organization. Obviously, you have to look at the motivations there from the attacker to identify what are the adversaries. At the end of it, then, the last phase, the fifth phase, is clearing the tracks. So at this point here, it's like brushing the sand after walking on it. The attacker wants to identify and hide any way of being able to detect that they were in, for several reasons. One, obviously, so that they can get away with it, but also because they don't want the organization to be able to identify that they've been attacked, especially if they have a way back in potentially. So Here's where things slightly change. You know, the attacker will possibly, if you were looking at a real hacker, clear the track of their original exploitation, but then still try to have another form of access maintained by them. And this is where we often see organizations which have had hackers compromise them months, years previously, and have had a maintenance order. They've had maintained that access for a prolonged period of time, 2-3 years. No longer is it just months. That okay? And we've seen a number of cases like that recently. So just to reiterate, the CH course is really driven around the 5 phases of the ethical hacking process: reconnaissance, scanning, gaining access, maintaining access, and closing tracks. So, course outline. I suppose I'm not going to read in through all of this, so I'll leave you go through this yourself. You've the intro to ethical hacking, looking at the overall phases: footprint, reconnaissance, scanning, enumeration. So this is all looking at what systems are there, then identifying what vulnerabilities exist, then looking at the hacking, the malicious threats of malware, sniffing, port scanning, different types of attacks, DDoS, social engineering, hijacking sessions, evading IDSs, firewalls, honeypots, hacking web servers. So the course looks at a number of different technologies, how to attack them, how to hack them. So again, allowing you to understand how better to prepare for them. And down towards the end there, we see some more of the newer technologies: IoT hacking, cloud computing, and obviously cryptography is important for anybody involved in, I suppose, any aspect of security. So CH itself is being gone through a number of iterations, now in its 10th version, a number of compliance with different frameworks. It's ANSI accredited, but it brings in new modules. Focuses on the emerging attack vectors. Some of the new modules we've mentioned already: vulnerability analysis, IoT hacking, focuses on this emerging attack vectors, AI, cloud, others coming in there. Latest types of malware, different variants, Trojans, ransomware, rootkits, mobile, how they actually work, their infection types, what they do, and even down to certain common ones, their port use. Then looks at malware analysis. It has an updated lab environment, updated systems, Windows Server 2016, Windows 10, etc., and updated tools based on the current environments, bringing into play Windows, Mac, Linux, mobile, and the big difference: more and more labs. People who want to do a CH, people who are in that area, want to get their hands dirty. So labs is extremely important. Just to look at the overall track. So realistically, if we take it that the LPT licensed pen tester is, you know, the ultimate goal, we can see that the CH there follows closely after the CND and then before the ECSA. It's not essential that that's the way that actual candidates take and work their career, but it is the recommended solution according to EC Council. So the exam itself, 2 variants of the exam. We have the question bank, I suppose, and we have the practical. So different numbers. So you have the 31250 being the standard, and then you have the practical exam. Number of questions in the question bank of the standard exam, 125. The practical being 6 hours duration. How do you work with it? Availability. In the physical question bank, you can use the ECC exam portal or use a View Testing Center. For the practical, you use the Aspen iLabs. Test format for the practical, multiple choice. Test format for the actual CH practical. Think about being in one of those plate pens. Is that okay? And then your passing score, really roughly around 70%. There can be some fluctuations from time to time. So depending on when you're listening to this presentation, I'll say at the present time, 70%. So how should one prepare for the actual exam and the CH? Well, obviously, attend an accredited EC Council course. There are options you can take without doing it, but you have to prove the validity in that. But definitely the recommended process would be to attend an EC Council accredited course, and make sure it is from an accredited body by EC Council, because this is required in order for you to take the exam. Obviously, study itself is very important, and practice on the labs. So we mentioned the EC Council iLabs. So make sure that you practice on iLabs for a long process, for a period of time. And I would say very important to follow the guidelines and advice from the instructor themselves. The instructor will be able to give you a lot of insights into what is required, and even to be able to advise you on the type of exam, the wording of exam, to make sure that you are aware of it, because exam questions can ask you things slightly different than you may normally take them. Is that okay? So just so you're aware of the type of exams, the wordings, or the exam questions and the wording, sorry. So follow the instructor's guidance, I think, is essential. So what are the ideal CH candidates? Ethical hackers, system administrators, network administrators, engineers, web managers, auditors, security professionals in general. Really, the target audience is massive. I would see people coming for the CH from a number of different job roles, some more to get an understanding. I've even seen CISOs, and CISOs that people would often say, oh, they are not going to have a hands-on approach, but for their understanding, you see people doing it. So some people actually take the CH course more for a knowledge acquisition and understanding of the mindset of an attacker, where others actually want to go down the route of having a career in that line. So how does it help? Well, I suppose we can see here, I have a couple of slides with regards to, I suppose, the requirements for jobs. Is that okay? One of the core aspects is that CH is definitely there. Is that okay? So you can see here in 2016, I got these slides from one of the EC Council representatives, that the EC Council CH and the CHFI are rated within the top 50 most desirable certifications. So definitely a certification that is worthwhile having. Is that okay? And again, here, recognized as a world leader by the UK government. I've seen a number of courses being organized by UK government bodies with regards to CH. So again, it's definitely something that literally a number of organizations will look for as a key prerequisite for jobs. So opportunities in more details. There's some CH specifics: security analysis, information security analysts, security operations center analysts, and all of that. But I sort of thought, I said, well, actually, is it only that? No. A lot of the jobs now, a lot of the work going on now is to do with red, blue, purple teaming. And if we turn around and have a very quick look at this, have a look at the red team, have a look at the blue team there. Red team, offensive security, ethical hacking, exploiting vulnerabilities, pen tests, black box testing, social engineering, web app scanning. They're all areas that we've mentioned in the CH course content. Blue team, defensive security, infrastructure protection, damage central, incident response, operational security, threat hunting, digital forensics. So these are all things that, in order to do properly, we need to have an understanding of the attacker. So again, CH very well suited for red, blue teams, and obviously purple teams, being a combination of both. So some more information. According to the Ministry of Defence's Red Team Guide, benefits include broader understanding of the operational environment, filling gaps in understanding, identifying vulnerabilities, opportunities, risks, and threats, identifying bias, groupthink, flawed assumptions, and a tendency to jump to conclusions, revealing how external influences, adversaries, or competitors could affect plans, concepts, and capabilities, identifying second and third order effects and unforeseen consequences, so a cascaded problem, identifying further improved measures of effectiveness, identifying the need for contingency plans, and more focused intelligence collection and improved information requirements. So I think from yourself, you can see CH is well suited for people who want to follow that career path. So forget, well, I'm not saying forget, sorry, I just did, but don't only think about the analyst role or the pen tester. Think about the other sort of complementary roles as well. Average salaries changed. January 2018, the average salary for cybersecurity jobs rose by 16%. So they're saying here, average 72,500 sterling. You know, this will definitely depend on your role, your experience, where you are in the world. You know, I definitely see that different locations, the salaries have a big tendency to change. But definitely one thing that's actually that we can all see, the salaries are only going to rise with the lack of availability of relevantly trained professionals. It's something that's going to become a bigger problem as we move on. So really, guys, that's myself. That's the very quick presentation with regards to a CH. Don't forget, it is a 5-day course. There's a lot more involved. Just again, that's myself and my details. You can get me there on LinkedIn. We have a number of courses that we run with regards to cybersecurity. Please have a look and contact myself or one of our colleagues if there's any inquiries. And I'm looking forward to your questions. Thank you very much.